Welcome to Subcommittee 1, our first meeting. It's good to see everyone. I want to just make sure, since we are streaming live, that we introduce ourselves, and we'll do that very quickly. And then we'll get right down to business. So I'm Representative Rachel Talbot Ross here in Portland, and I am the co-chair for Subcommittee 1 and a member of the Permanent Commission. I'll ask the other co-chair to introduce himself, and then we'll go around the meeting screen and get to everyone else. So Vice Chief Newell.
Yes, good evening. Darrell Newell. I'm Vice Chief of the Passamaquoddy Tribe at Indian Township. Good to see you all.
And just jump right in.
I'm Representative Genevieve McDonald, House District 134, the offshore islands of Penobscot Bay. Nice to see everybody today.
And I'm Jay McCray, Harpswell, West Bath, and part of Brunswick representative.
I'm Sarah Pebworth. I represent the House District 133 that includes Blue Hill Peninsula.
Well, good to see you all. We're going to make the most of our hour. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Our task today is to review the filtering tool that we went through, the rankings of the approximately 65 bills that we reviewed. And for us, really today, we're going to go through each bill very quickly and just create yes/no piles. And then we take all of the no's and put them away for potentially reconsidering, but we'll then go through all of the yeses and see if there's any more filtering that we can do. So the goal for our meeting today is to end with a list of those bills that we believe should move on to the next phase of the process, which would be an assessment phase. If everybody's all set, then I will go ahead and try to share the screen here. If everyone is all set to go, really just kind of quick interactive, whatever you know about a bill, please jump in and share it, and we can always go back. But for our initial review, this is LD 13. I'll show you the rankings. I will just quickly go through keep or discard, I guess is the language. I'm going to say discard. If you get, if you just let me know if you agree, that'd be great.
Agreed, discard.
Rachel, do you need a verbal or a visual agreement?
A verbal may be best, just because I'm trying to coordinate a couple of different things. So
and discard.
So LD 70, discard.
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 Thank you. 102.
Discard.
Discard.
Discard. Yep. Vice Chief, you okay? LD 141.
Discard.
Discard.
Discard. LD 171.
Discard.
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 Yes.
LD 193.
Keep. What are we doing? Discard or what?
We're just doing an initial sweep, so we don't even have to dig that deep. If we want to keep it, we keep it. I mean, we'll come back to it. I'm going to say keep as well.
Keep it.
Yeah, I just didn't know what the language was. Discard or keep is what we're saying.
Yeah. Yes.
Keep.
We could say yay and nay. It would be just as easy, but 279.
Keep.
Keep.
351.
Keep.
Keep. 362.
Discard.
Discard.
Yeah. Okay.
Discard. So I neglected one important piece, and I'll insert it now, and that is, again, we are considering all of these bills based off the 10 criteria that was listed in the document that you have. And so our lens for all of this is not just good bills or progressive bills, but it really is an eye towards helping to have some positive impact on those eliminating health racial disparities. So LD 403.
Discard.
Or keep it a
Discard.
little more.
I'm gonna say discard. What was the vote? I'm a D, discard.
Discard.
Yes,
Discard, Vice Chief?
yes, yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries. 430, I say just discard.
Yeah, that's mine, but we got to discard for this purpose, but keep it in general.
Yes, I agree with that. And my thoughts exactly.
And
Discard it for this purpose, but we'll keep it somewhere else, hopefully.
Yeah,
469,
I rate
Keep.
it high. I would keep it.
Let's keep talking about it.
keep, yep. 507, I say discard.
Yeah, discard.
Discard.
Agree.
535, I say discard.
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 Yes,
It is public transportation
Yeah, it is.
in there.
And it might help people get back and forth to work somewhere. I'm gonna change my vote.
I
I'm gonna go
struggled with this one, but I thought, how many people use the rail? Group we're talking, I don't know.
And I had
Yeah.
that question about a lot of them. How many people would this affect? Public
Well,
transport,
it could,
it's out of Lewiston as well.
So it's Lewiston to Portland, right? I do think that potentially the transportation challenges there might have a increased positive impact on communities of color and mobility, but it might not be immediate.
right. Let's keep it for the first wave.
Okay.
Is that
Sounds-
okay with everyone to keep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good call.
And welcome, Senator Bellows.
Yeah, my apologies for being late.
No worries at all. We're just doing a really quick first view. Yeah. 592.
Discard.
Mixed reviews on that one.
I have real mixed reviews on this one. Yeah. Let's keep it and talk about it. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yes.
610. I'm sorry. Let's see. I'm gonna move the screen.
Discard.
Yeah, discard.
Discard for
Go
this
on.
purpose.
Yeah.
Yep. $639.
Let's keep
Keep.
that one for a minute.
I agree. Everyone okay? Keep.
Yes.
665.
This is actually, I think this is anti-racial justice.
I think I didn't. Yeah.
I wondered. I really
Well-
wondered, Shenna.
We'll
So,
keep and talk about it, Shanna,
Okay,
because it's a very interesting.
sure.
709.
Discard.
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 But, well, who are food service employees though? What does this bill do? Sorry, I didn't do my homework before this meeting.
It gives Subway owners and other people who give employees free meals an exemption on the taxes for the meals that they give to their employees.
All right, discard. Sorry, thank you.
759. Full
Keep
disclosure.
that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, keep that one. That one
Yeah,
sounds important.
yeah, full disclosure. It is my bill, but
Right.
yeah. 795.
Keep.
Keep.
Keep. 859.
Keep.
Keep.
911.
A bit more attenuated, but willing to talk.
911.
I would keep.
Really?
Discard. I think that the correlation's not direct enough.
I don't see it as direct enough either, but do you want us to talk about it, Jay?
Well, just the working waterfront part was what attracted me, but I'm okay if you want to move on from it.
I say we discard it for this purpose, but keep it in the bigger picture, hopefully somewhere else.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. 936.
Discard.
Yeah,
Discard. 977.
Discard.
Great bill, but probably discard
for this purpose, Shanna?
for this purpose. It's amazing bill. Go super credit.
1016.
Discard.
1051.
Keep.
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 Hmm.
1106.
Keep.
Keep.
Keep. 1142. I say
Keep.
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 And that's, the title's a little misleading. We'll talk about it, because it's not just for seniors, but 1178.
Keep.
1214. Discard.
Yeah.
Discard for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
1254. I say discard, but we can talk
Yeah.
about it if you guys.
I agree.
me
For
too.
these purposes, yeah.
Discard.
Discard.
1322.
Discard.
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 Yeah.
1376.
Keep.
Yeah.
Keep.
1417. I say
Keep.
Keep. That's mine.
1453. Keep.
This is keep.
1492.
Keep.
Yeah, it's an interesting bill. I'm not sure it's going to have the impact that we need, but it is decriminalizing drugs. So
Interesting number too.
yeah,
Mm.
right. Yeah, no, this is a keeper. Definitely. 1572.
I think keep.
Keep.
The only one we all agreed on.
1608.
Discard.
Discard.
1646. Discard.
Discard for this purpose.
Keep.
1689. Keep.
Keep.
I had mixed feelings.
Me too. Yeah, all of these the opiate bills, I have, they're great bills. I know we all feel the need to say that for all of these great bills. I just don't know what the impact is going to be on the disparity, but 1719.
Discard.
Discard.
1781.
Discard.
1839.
I'm not sure. I need more data.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about it some more.
Yeah. 1878.
Discard.
Yeah.
Discard.
1893.
Discard.
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 1912.
I
Discard.
would keep.
I don't know
I'm
enough about it.
Let's
It's
talk about it.
Fine. This is just a technical bill. It's not actually substantive. It's not actually going to change the law.
Okay.
Oh, so
It's a labor
I'm
bill.
gonna,
It's my
I'm
bill.
gonna say, so we should discard for these purposes?
Technically, it's bringing us into compliance with the federal EEOC, but Maine is already in compliance with the federal EEOC. So technically, it is a justice bill or an equity bill. So that's important. But this is one of those. It's almost like an errors and corrections bill. I mean, not exactly, but
Okay. Let's discard it. You can always vote to get it back in.
sure.
There's a reconsideration process.
Okay.
1930, discard.
Discard.
Yeah.
1940. 1941,
Keep.
I say discard. But
Really?
well, well, we can talk about it. I don't know any correction officers of color, so I'm not sure why.
I
giving
don't
them-
think
I-
there are
I-
any.
You know, whether I agree with that they should get
Sure.
more compensation, and I do, I just don't know how it,
I was thinking of getting high quality corrections officers.
well, the only thing positive, it could attract a more diverse workforce, but
That's what I was,
it could be a recruiting tool. I'm trying to be, fair.
well, not the highest priority, I guess.
What do you guys, let's look at the ratings. Oh, do you want to keep or discard? I'm willing to do either.
I just, for this one, I would advocate, for this cycle, I would advocate for discarding, even though I think correction officer pay is important. But I think we want to be laser focused on impact, that explicit connection.
Yeah. So Vice Chief Newell, are you okay with discarding this one?
I would prefer to keep it, but I'm
Okay.
Keep it.
in favor
Nope,
of the majority.
no,
Right.
let's just keep and we can talk about it. Thank you, Vice Chief.
I agree. I'd keep it for now.
Okay. 1955, keep. And our last one is 1965. Keep,
I would like to know more about it. Keep it.
Yeah,
okay. Okay, is everyone all right with that?
Yes.
Okay, so from our first pass, if you just give me a minute, out of the 65 bills,
So Rachel, is that really all the ones that we looked at?
yeah,
Okay, sorry, I have a different.
that's
document.
right.
I have more on the list.
Do you?
Yes. We're just at 53.
Oh,
1965 is 53. We have
geez. Okay, so we're at 50. Thank you both.
53.
Yeah. 1980 is the bill.
Was anybody keeping good enough notes to just put in the chat what happened with the first 10? If not, I'll just wait until we go. through
Yeah, I did. I gotta just find where we're at. You said we're on 51.
It's Bill 1955 too. 1980.
There it
we-
is.
oh, stop. Back. 1980.
There we go. So out of the 51 bills, because this is, sorry, this is number 52. Yeah. Out of the 51 bills so far, we've kept 25. So 1980.
Discard.
Discard.
1996.
Discard.
Discard.
2011.
Discard.
2027.
Discard.
Discard.
2046.
Discard.
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 2064.
Discard.
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 2086.
Keep.
2097.
Discard.
2109.
Keep.
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 Keep. 2011.
Keep.
Keep.
2130.
Discard.
Unfortunate. 2138.
Discard.
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 2145.
So this is
Yeah.
a great bill, but one of the things I noticed when I looked at the data is that in Maine, although in our armed forces and veterans nationally, people of color are disproportionately represented, in Maine, our veteran.
I'm sitting there watching my dad surf. From that point on, I always kind of like felt
Let's flag that.
I'm sorry, I missed some. You said in Maine, our demographics don't match the national
Yeah, so
demographics?
that actually, while nationally, people of color comprise a larger percentage of the armed forces, in Maine, our veteran workforce is disproportionately white, and there are actually fewer people of color who, at least in the last census, percentage-wise, were identified as veteran relative to the general population
Mhm.
demographics.
Does-
So I just wanted to flag that, that we might think that we're doing something that's addressing a racial disparity, but given that our veteran population is overwhelmingly white, that's why I ended up putting this in an extremely low place.
No, this is a
But-
tough one. That's really helpful, Shanna, but as I look
Not just veterans.
about the efforts to recruit people to come to Maine to fill jobs, that's why I gave it a higher rating, but I'm okay with letting it go.
And I gave it a high rating only because I knew about the national demographics. So knowing the state demographics is really helpful. I know nationally, and maybe Vice Chief Newell will comment on this, but nationally, I know that there's a higher percentage of Native Americans in the armed forces than amongst the other racial populations. Vice Chief, what do you think about keeping or discarding 2145?
Being persuaded by the scoring, I would discard, but
Discard?
I'm happy keeping it for further conversation and having somebody else take a look at the census data, because I'm by no means a social scientist, but I just wanted people to know that that's where I came to on this one.
Why don't we keep it and ask for some more information?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Thanks. 2153.
I would keep it.
Keep it.
And for me, there was a question about data and numbers.
That is the question for me too.
Yep, same.
That is 65 out of 65. And thank you all for again having us complete the whole group. So we were at 25. We are first wave, we've gotten rid of slightly over half. We have 30 to reconsider. That sounds about right. So the first one is LD 193. It is number 6. An act to fully fund and restore state municipal revenue sharing. I mean, we all get why this is important, but there is no way to effectively evaluate how this gets to the communities.
Discard it.
Are you thinking about who? This would help homeowners more than renters, I'd assume? Is that accurate?
Yes, because it would reduce your property tax burden.
Right. So that might be a vote against it as serving what we want to serve.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Mo Terry here. Sorry I had to jump in late. If I
Hey,
could,
Mo.
so with revenue sharing, for me, that was on the priority list because
I can no longer hear you.
Nope. Mo?
Sounds like she was driving.
So where I was conflicted by
Aliens.
We can't hear you, Mo.
sorry, our bigger populations are service centers. Sorry.
So Mo, I think you might have been saying that
I'm trying to get home fast. Yeah.
Okay. And Mo, I think you might have been saying what I struggled with and why I didn't put this in extremely low. And that is, I do think that the larger service centers like Portland are maybe in some ways doing a better job serving their local communities of color. And so from that perspective, revenue sharing is helpful, but I do also think it's attenuated. Again, there's not a direct correlation per se, and there's no instruction to cities and towns about how to reinvest those dollars.
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, I definitely hear that. My biggest concern is that with not getting back to revenue sharing the way that it's supposed to be, is that, you know, any kind of funding that comes into those cities is going to be used for, you know, keeping up with the police, keeping up with fire, all that kind of stuff. And if they're, you know, if it's where it's supposed to be, then those services can be more people related versus emergency related. So that's why it was high up on my list, but I can certainly go with the flow with everybody on this one.
This does bring up a question for me. I struggled numerous times with issues of poverty, with maybe more social justice concerns rather than racial justice concerns in particular. So I sometimes had a hard time deciding where to land.
Yeah, I think Senator Bell said it probably best for me, which is without any real instruction on ensuring that people who are most impacted, who are experiencing disparities based on race throughout our cities and towns, there's no explicit impact. Absolutely, we hope that it is equally shared. I mean, that is absolutely the goal, but it's not baked in.
Yeah.
Are there other processes that are going through bills right now too? I mean, this bill may survive in a different conversation somewhere else, right?
Right.
It's definitely surviving in the tax committee. I can tell you that.
So like the whole burden of keeping this bill alive isn't on us.
Yeah, I think you
Right.
might be right, Jen. Yeah.
No, but one of the things that we can do for bills is to put, you know, a little bit of information attached to them to express, you know, that we think it's a good bill, but it needs one or two tweaking. It needs some tweaking.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think the way that it's currently being offered, it doesn't have enough of a direct impact.
I agree for purposes of this process, but I think this is a good instructive piece, and it might be too late in the process for this particular bill, but maybe not, that we should start thinking about all of our bills. What could we tweak? What could we incorporate in a structural way to start to dismantle systemic racism that's inherent in some of the structures that we've established? Could we put strength attached to revenue sharing around principles of fairness and equity? Yeah.
As you're talking now, I want to keep it just hang on to it for a little longer and see where it's not gonna hurt to keep it and to continue to talk about it.
Rachel, I really appreciate at our first meeting, it was stressed that you stressed that there's some bills where this isn't the lens we're looking through, where that maybe isn't relevant to them, but it doesn't mean they're bad bills. So I do wonder about this one. Is it too late to create some sort of amendment to it since it's on the track but not quite there?
I would have to say, yeah, it would probably be a little late for that. It's been working since last year. And quite frankly, you know, to be honest, the governor is not supportive of it because she's got her own revenue sharing restoring plan. Well, you know.
And Mo, the other thing is I wouldn't want to damage a good bill.
Yeah, that's been worked a lot.
Yeah. So what's the vote?
I can pass on it.
Yeah, discard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a good champion in Mo.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Discard.
Vice
This-
Chief Newell?
But Mo and Jay, I think all of us, to the extent that we can think about structural inequities and sort of linking some of these popular bills to like some of the thinking that we're encouraging local municipalities to do would be really great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Maybe bonus revenue sharing if you're
Yeah.
doing some racial justice work at the local level or serving communities of color in proportion or, you know, something like that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I guess my question is this next session or this session? Can we do something
It
now?
might be, yeah.
It might be next session,
Yeah, probably.
but something explicit with a measurable evaluation tools.
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
So-
I just, timing wise, I don't know.
So 279, we said to keep, and we'll talk about it. I mean, again, this bill is almost similar to, it's similar to a lot of really, really good bills, which is it's race neutral. So it's intended to have some impact equally. But if you look at our courtrooms, you know.
I don't think there's a direct correlation.
I don't
One of
either.
the questions, I thought this was an interesting data point issue because initially I had it lower and then I put it higher because jury of our peers, one of the real challenges or barriers to representation on juries is just like in the legislature, one of the challenges to do true representation in the legislature is that pay is inadequate. So people that have to earn a certain level to pay the bills who are not, you know, don't have generational wealth, or, you know, have to have a job, can't take that day off for jury duty at the low pay that it's at. So, but again, I agree that it's attenuated, right? We don't have data that shows that jury, you know, people of color are disproportionately excluded from or unable to serve on juries because of lack of pay. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was a contributing factor.
Yeah. We can set it aside and try to get more information if you want. I don't mind. I mean, we can have a list of those kinds of bills. We want more information and then we'll make a decision. I don't think the information's out there, but
I don't think
you
it's
know.
out there either. So I'm happy discarding it for now, but it's something I've started to think about from a representation perspective is compensation. Like so often I think we expect Black, Indigenous and people of color to do labor for free.
Agreed. Everyone okay with discarding it?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With
The
all the
next bill-
provisos that Shenna
I
just
know.
said, I agree.
So 315, promote healthy living in Maine.
What is this bill?
I just,
It's a program for older adults to help increase preventative healthcare. And it does say, especially in rural, underserved, and unserved areas of the state.
can you say that again, Sarah? Does it say underserved or, yeah,
And Mo may know more, especially in rural, underserved, and unserved areas.
so underserved areas, not underserved populations.
Correct. I think it's geared toward rural, from what I recall.
Yeah.
So,
I would
Discard.
say- Yeah. Mo?
Yeah, discard is fine with me.
Okay. And Vice Chief?
I would agree with the majority.
Okay, dope. The next one is 469, which is number 12.
I think this is important because this is about school renovations, and I think wealthier communities and like, you know, for lack of a better word, predominantly white communities like, you know, Cape Elizabeth or Manchester, where I live, might have a more of an ability to do some self-funding with improvements than some of the of communities like Lewiston or
Or
many communities of color may not have the local resources to self-fund school renovations.
Can we look into this more and see if this would actually?
Yeah.
Yes.
communities we're
Because
wanting?
it may be absent, like revenue sharing though, absent explicit language, we don't know that it would actually have a positive impact on dismantling racial disparities without any specific language for incentives or, you know, doing that disruption.
And I think, isn't there a bidding process for this too, for the school revolving fund?
there is.
Yeah, like I think schools have to pony up quite a bit in order to get funding.
Yeah.
I know Gorham was trying to get it and we lost a bit, and we're in dire straits. So I can't imagine what other schools are like that can't get that far.
So maybe this is like revenue sharing where it's an important priority, but it's not currently constructed in such a way that impacts racial disparities.
Right. Right.
Which I think I'm going to just start a list of those so that we can make that part of our report. So 193 with revenue sharing and 469 right now are those two that would be on that list. Because I do think we have to give some voice to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. And Rachel, that's what I think I'm hearing, that we want this to do what our goal is, but it perhaps isn't going to do that the way it's structured. Not necessarily the bill, but the whole system. So we want
That's
to
correct.
system
That's
work
correct.
better.
Yeah. So I do think we have to keep I think we have to keep them for that purpose, to talk about them in that way. The next on our list was slide number 14, 535. And this is another one, I think. Because this helps folks go to work all over the state, or well, where is it going to run? Between Lewiston and, I thought it went further up. But
I think just right now, I believe it's like Lewiston and Portland, and then eventually up towards Montreal is like that's the unicorn.
should we put this in the same list?
Boy, I have no data to support it, but I thought this isn't hitting the population we're addressing, but I could be totally wrong.
And if
So
it's, go ahead.
we're creating transportation access for communities to travel between Lewiston and Portland.
Yeah.
One would think that would increase opportunities, because for the immigrant communities and communities of color that are in Lewiston, to a job market in Portland, which has traditionally or more recently been, until now, been really robust.
Well,
Right.
I got stuck on what the fares would be. And
That's
if
where
Yeah.
I did too, Jay. Yeah,
Good
I did
point.
too.
Like
That
this
is,
might be more like the Downeaster, which is hard to use.
Yeah.
But it might fit in that list, Rachel, of let's make sure it addresses what we're trying to address.
yeah. So again, and I think Shannon Bello said it, absent that explicit language, focus. But I see it as expanding the workforce opportunity as well and making public transportation more accessible. But if it's priced too high, it's not going to do much for a lot of people in those areas,
Right.
not just people of color. Okay, so we'll add it to our list. After 535, we're at 592, which is the next slide. So I don't know anything about this bill. Shannon, you seem to know.
I've got a spreadsheet. I gotta go find my spreadsheet.
I think I might know a little bit about that one, just because my
Sure.
husband worked for the school department. So it's Dave McCrae's bill, and I believe it's a lot of times the school employees will have to get tested multiple times for multiple things, and I think this is a way to make it easier for people. Well, make it, I guess, a little easier for people to get all of their background checks, fingerprinting, all of that kind of stuff. That's what I read into it anyway. And knowing that he's a teacher and he brought this in, and knowing the struggles my husband has having to get his fingerprint done every 5 years, which is so crazy to me. I think that that's what that one's all about.
Does
And
it go beyond? Does it go beyond the school department?
It didn't appear to, but I could be wrong about that. It could be state employees too. I'm not sure.
It is state employees as well.
It is, okay, yeah.
Is it also childcare providers that we fought so hard about? Do we know?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Let's, do you want to keep it and we'll get more information?
I would. But I
That's-
don't, now that I say that, I don't know if it hits our,
Yeah,
I'm
So
not
also-
sure that it's going to disrupt racial disparities.
yeah,
And it consolidates all the background checks into a centralized system, which in some ways could be useful in terms of ease of use for the end user. In some ways, it might be easier for people who get shut out of these jobs because of the background check problems to appeal that, or it might be harder for them to interface. So I was undecided about it, so I put it in the one category. I couldn't see how it was actually going to disrupt racial disparities. It could go either way.
Yeah, I ranked it low.
I think it's a discard.
well, and I have to say I was incredibly biased because we had such a fight about background checks for home childcare providers, which I
Yeah.
felt was such an important safety issue. So I was biased and I rated it higher. But I am okay with letting it go.
Anyone
And it doesn't
else?
mean it won't pass. It just means that we're not saying that this is the key to change the disparity.
I think we should discard it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Mo, Terry, you're okay?
yeah, I'm good. I can discard it. Hey, you guys, I just need to step out for a couple minutes. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
next. Thank you. Is 639, slide number 17. So this is all over the place.
Oh, awful. Sorry, that's me causing that. There we go.
So this is the bill that supports student family schools protecting video recordings from FOA requests and
Oh.
regards videos as matter of requesting an educational record, which is protected under FERPA.
But I thought it was problematic because I feel like the videos have been a crucial tool to exposing racial, assaults, death, mistreatment of people of color at the hands of authorities. So I felt like if I was looking at it strictly from a racial justice perspective, I don't know, but there's some more details in the bill that might not make it problematic, but I just wanted to flag that.
This is Senator Carpenter's bill.
So it says those videos aren't public, right? That video recordings are not a public, and surveillance cameras on school grounds are not a public record. Yeah. I hate cameras. My ACLU background hates, the idea of what people do on camera as being a public record. But I do wonder, like in terms of a tool for going back and looking at how people are treated, does this create a barrier to truth telling about?
Yeah. So it's exactly that. This bill provides that video and audio recordings made by security or surveillance cameras on school grounds or in school vehicles are not public records for purposes of the Freedom of Access Act. I'm gonna say no.
You're going to say no, they shouldn't be public record?
They should be public records,
They should be.
but I get the privacy component.
So it's like we would not be having these protests about George Floyd, but for that video. And in some ways, that video is very,
part of the issue is students versus adults, perhaps.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I know one of the concerns that was brought up was people requesting video for reasons that pertained nothing to justice of any sort.
Yeah.
But if we correlate the disproportionate disciplinary and expulsion data, right, with if we look at it in terms of transparency, what's happening in schools, I don't see it as students needing more protection for privacy outweighing the public's right to understand what's happening in the schools as it relates to, particularly as it relates to students of color with the disproportionate disciplinary and expulsion rates. So it feels to me like it gives us more of a window into that than less of a window, and that should be public information.
And to go a step further, the bill in its current form is a blanket exception. And if we take a racial justice analysis, maybe you create a prohibition on release for, I don't know. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but it has to be more narrowly tailored, because I feel like there have been incidents of students of color being mistreated in school where video has been released either by cell phone or surveillance camera, and that's created social change.
Well, we should move on. Do you guys want to keep it on? What would you like to do? I don't want my opinion to. I'd like to. I think it'd have the opposite effect. Vice Chief Newell, do you have any opinion about? So these.
I like the points about evidence or reference to videotaping in case there's some issue about authority abuse or authority misconduct. I would agree to keep it based on that kind of argument.
So to discard it based on that, I think.
Well, I like the video evidence in the issues that are nationally just being discussed now. So I think it's relevant to this bill as well to potentially have a documentation of misconduct or abuse of authority. So
Well,
I
we need.
interpret it as a keep from my perspective, but.
So we're gonna move on.
Just so I understand, are we keeping it so we can identify it as problematic, or are we keeping it so we can identify it as something that should pass? I apologize for not quite understanding.
Yeah, I wanna discard it because I want the public to have access to these records.
Yeah.
And this would prevent the record from being foyable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree, discard it.
Yeah, it does bring up another issue that if there are bills that we feel should really be rewritten or should be really lobbied against, that's sort of a different list.
Yeah, we could highlight.
I would agree. I misunderstood the points that were being made. I'm sorry.
We could highlight it as furthering it. It could potentially further a disparity.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would agree with that. And it's a confusing one. I would like to say an act that prevents student privacy if it's for good reason, but not if it's to abuse. But I think it's one to be cautious about.
Yeah, and I can reach out to Senator Carpenter. In our notes, I'll put that for me to reach out to Senator Carpenter and talk to him about the bill, make sure we're really understanding it correctly.
And it looks like it got an ought not to pass in work session on February 27th.
Oh,
Although the vote is not there online.
okay, thank you, thank you. So I'll reach out to Senator Carpenter, but we flagged it as problematic. The next one is 665. Shanna, did you want to speak? Did you have some information about this?
So obviously I spent a lot of my career in free speech, but there has been a movement by conservative activists to demand what they view as free speech as an equal forum and alleging discrimination based on viewpoint. So for example, the guy who authored The Bell Curve, which is a really horrible, disgusting book, insisted on speaking at Middlebury, and then students of color organized a protest and they were disciplined. But the right wing was saying if he hadn't been allowed to speak, it would have been a violation of his free speech rights. Well, so this is where this is coming from. And the ACLU opposed this bill because of the unintended consequences in terms of material and significant disruption. And so my concern is in the free speech context, like too often the free speech rights of quite frankly, white men and women are elevated over the free speech rights of people of color. And in the collegiate context, students of color are more often penalized for disruption, like in this context, or for protest or exercising their free speech rights, and the free speech rights of the powerful or like white men, like the Bell Curve author, are protected. And so to see the ACLU speak out against this bill and talk about unintended consequences was significant to me. And I see it as potentially criminalizing students of color and actually strengthening the voices of people who are espousing hate speech that I think violates the equal protection rights of students on campus.
I think this is one where the title is very appealing, but what is the intent? At the same time, it directs the Attorney General to review it, which may be a positive. So, no.
Yeah, I'm looking at
the Attorney General is.
Yeah, I'm looking at the testimony that Samantha Warren submitted on behalf of the Humane System. And she says, ultimately, LD 665 would not necessitate any change in our current policies or practice. It's a zero-sum game. There's already First Amendment, as you all know, there's already the protections that are needed. So there's no, it does not feel to me like this would, for our purposes, this would not enhance or do anything to positively impact disparities.
Discard.
Yep, I agree.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think this is a racist bill. I know
Yeah.
it's a strong word.
Flag it as problematic.
I was afraid of that. I got
So
concerned.
everyone okay to move on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Next keep is 759. This is really a funding bill. This is my bill for transparency, but this is to, increase the capacity for the Maine Human Rights Commission by increasing the efficiency in its enforcement. It's pretty self-explanatory bill.
Good idea.
Looks like agreement with that one.
Yeah, everyone okay to keep?
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually our first keep. We've got other lists for some things, but that's our first keep. So 795, a constitutional amendment to establish a right to food. I believe this is Representative Hickman's bill.
Can you draw a direct relationship with the assessment tools, the assessment questions that we had? Could somebody help me with that?
So this goes to a lot of around a couple of things, but one is the social determinants of health was one of our criteria, expressed criteria. We do have data about disproportionate food insecurity by the populations that we're looking at. And so, you know, we also know about food deserts, we know about food quality, we know how this all directly correlates to health disparities, racial health disparities. So it seems like it would have a pretty profound effect. Mo, do you know anything more about this, or?
So I do know that that it's got its own sort of, first of all, I say yes, keep it for sure. It has its own champions though behind it that are pretty fierce, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and you'd want to check with Craig on this for sure, but I think that he was almost there right before we shut down with the governor on getting her to accept and sign it. But I'm not sure. I don't know the details of that. I didn't see anywhere in there, and maybe I just missed it, about concerning food deserts, because that's a huge concern for me too. But I don't know that that's addressed in this bill.
Yeah, it doesn't, I'm reading it, it doesn't look like it, you're correct.
Yeah. So, but that being said, it certainly is a start in order to have that conversation. You know, if everyone has, food security, any kind of food security, then it can get more detailed as it grows, as the bill grows, as the idea grows, to specifically addressing things like food deserts.
Yeah, this is more along the lines of growing and acquiring your own food.
Yeah.
But at any rate, it does feel like it's a keeper.
Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
we should keep this bill.
Okay. The next up is 859. This is another bond bill. Should it go in the list with the other?
Yeah, it would be a good thing to fund, but it doesn't have a direct correlation in the same way some of these other bills that we would like to elevate.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I would argue it goes on that list of absent the explicit impact. But we could also choose to just discard this one. It's an average ranking.
I would put it on the list with the other bills where there's really no direct correlation, but it could be helpful.
Yeah. Anyone disagree with that?
No.
Okay, great. After 895, we go to 1051.
I think you just went past it.
Sorry. Let's see, slide 27. Yep. Sorry about that. Anyone? Family First program?
I could read a little bit about it. Award employers that create family-friendly workplaces by providing for full-time employees, advancement and leadership opportunities, the same pay rates for similar work, stipends or assistance for childcare, paid leave for the birth or adoption of a child, medical care for employees or family members of employees, flexible work accommodations for other family obligations, health insurance and retirement plan options.
Yeah, this bill actually explicitly names persons of color in it.
Yes.
Under program criteria, in order for you to be eligible for the program, you have to meet at least 4 of the following criteria. And one of them is that you have to demonstrate all employees, including women, persons of color, and persons with disability have equal opportunity to advance to leadership positions. So, I mean, there is some explicit language embedded in the bill. I say we keep it.
Yeah,
Keep it.
I agree. I agree.
I love this bill. I didn't know this bill existed.
Yeah, it's Senator Herbig's bill. It's a good bill. After 1051 is 1106.
I got bumped off back, sort of on my phone.
Does anyone know about 1106? It is. This is Representative Brennan's bill. Do you know? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
My computer shut down, so I'm trying to pull it all up. But I think what I put was good bill, but no explicit.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no direct correlation. And if you read it, it's very little it's a income eligibility levels for Medicare savings program and elderly low cost drug program. Removes the asset test for Medicaid savings. Anyway, it goes in that list with the others, I think.
Yep.
Unless you want to just discard it altogether.
I'd put it,
Put it on the list.
Keep it.
yeah.
You mean with the revenue sharing and the bond bills where it needs better language to be a priority for racial justice?
That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. After 1106 is the next one, 1142. This is Representative Chloe Maxim's bill. And I do believe that there was some amendments that are not online. We just talked about this in HHS. It really is trying to get help for folks who are stranded, for lack of better terms, which is not funny. I'm laughing because it goes beyond seniors. And a lot of the discussion by Representative Craven was how impactful this would be to the demographics in Lewiston, Auburn area. If folks are okay, I'd like to bring back some information, send it to you by email, the amendments to this bill.
Sure.
Unless
Yes.
you want to just keep it.
I'd like to keep it.
I'd like to keep it. Yeah.
Okay. And Senator Bell's, yeah, okay. Let's see. Vice Chief Newell, you okay with keeping this bill? I can provide you with more specific information if you'd like. It's a good bill. It expands transportation to vulnerable populations who.
If the information is readily available, but I'm in favor of it.
Good, yeah.
Keep it.
Okay, our next one is 1178. Anyone?
So I needed more data. Do we have data, Rachel, in terms of the demographics of children with intellectual disabilities or autism?
By race?
Yeah, because I just wasn't sure. I mean, I think it's a really excellent bill and we need to address it, but I wasn't sure if we see disproportionate impacts in terms of families of color or children of color with intellectual disabilities and autism spectrum disorder.
So that wasn't presented, but I can get in touch with Representative Stover and ask her, it's her bill. we can keep it on the list and require more information, I can send it to everyone by email.
That
That
sounds
would-
good.
I mean, it's an incredibly important issue. Does it meet the criteria is the question.
Right, so that's what I'll ask Representative Stover, is if she could give us some more information, because I do not know. I don't think it does, but I certainly don't want to make too many assumptions here.
Can I put something anecdotally in there? So
Mhm.
when we were hearing about the Care Credit Act, we had, I would say, a significant number of families of color who were there that were looking for caregiver credits because they were taking care of their children. It was, I want to say it was like four folks that were, again, I think from the Lewiston community mostly, and maybe they were there, you know, at the behest of a specific legislator, but it was tear jerking for sure, their testimony. So, I mean, again, that's anecdotal, so it certainly doesn't spread around, you know, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the state as a whole, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I would like to keep it.
So, so it's on our list to keep, and I'll send more information.
Cool.
The next on the list is 1376, which is slide 34. I don't know about, I hear you, Senator Bellows, asking for data. I don't know. I mean, I hear it in my head. I don't know. Does anyone know about this bill?
So I believe, but if there's anybody on education, please interject. But I think the issue is taking a comprehensive look at what's going on with physical restraint and seclusion policies. And I believe the ACLU did a report, maybe I want to say a year, maybe 2 years ago, about the disproportionate treatment of children of color, and including the disproportionate use of physical restraint and excessive physical restraint and excessive seclusion policies directed at children of color in Maine schools. My husband, who works with the Civil Rights Team Project, is furiously nodding his head over there, and he's more of an expert in school-based policies than I am. So I'm not on the education committee, so the devil is always in the details of the language, but I think restraint and seclusion among students of color in Maine is a big problem. So if this bill is trying, and Farnsworth is a sponsor, if they're trying to get at the issue of how we do a better job with that, that seems like the right thing to do. And I know that Disability Rights Maine had supported it.
I say keep it.
I agree.
Yes.
Folks okay with keeping it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Next one is 1417.
This is my bill.
Mhm.
It, I mean, I think it's Head Start is an early childhood program that has good data to support that it is helpful to going forward. It was specifically mentioning opioid affected and other at-risk families. So it has a big fiscal note, and I think the intent was to see if we could get something to increase the number of people who could access Head Start. That's what it's about.
That works for me. I say keep it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Keep it.
And I might suggest Representative McCrate adding some language, you know, in terms of making sure that a certain percentage goes to community, you know, making sure there's access for children of color, because I totally agree with you 100%.
Well, Head Start is specifically focused on low income.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that demographic is pretty important. absolutely, I agree. I can't remember the language at this point because.
Sorry, and I don't remember the language either. Shame on me for you sort of
Oh,
speaking.
you're right.
about,
You're right.
Yeah, I say keep it. I mean, you've already mentioned the fiscal note on it. It's one of the challenges with it, but I think we should stand up and support it.
Yeah, I mean, we know enough about early childhood to know that it makes a huge difference in long-term outcomes. And
Absolutely.
because Head Start is specific to I think it's specific to the demographic we're talking about, which is unfortunate because it shouldn't be the case, but it is.
Yeah. 1453.
This is another bill that's, oh, sorry. Go ahead. Directed at low-income families. My dentist actually advocated for this bill, so I have a personal connection to it. I mean, I do think that it benefits children of low-income households. If you want to
Absolutely.
equate that to racial disparities, I think we can
Absolutely.
draw a line there.
Yeah.
I'd like to keep it.
I think it's a good bill. It should be kept. I think it should be kept. I think there's a direct correlation. Anyone disagree?
No,
Okay.
I agree. And it has tremendous impact on long-term outcome as well, dental health,
Yep.
physical health.
It's Representative Gutierrez's bill. Yep. I think it's a keeper. So sounds like we all agree. 1492. I don't think we have to spend too much time on this, to be honest. It's a decrim bill. It may or may not directly impact, all decrim bills are gonna impact. So I just think the bill started out and then it's been reworked a lot, but we should definitely support it.
I agree.
Agreed.
Good. Next one is 1572. This is my bill.
Good number.
Came before Labor and Housing. It's actually not gonna do, unfortunately, we can keep it, but it's a first step, and it's an important first step with private and public housing entities.
It seems to get a strong vote, Rachel.
We could debate it if you'd like, but 1608. No, that's a killer. That not a killer. We discarded it. All right. 1689, which is 41. Does anyone know any? I don't know anything about this bill.
I wrote down the words needle exchange.
Yeah.
This is Senator Linda Sanborn's bill. Yeah, it is what you said. So again, I mean, if we're thinking about 1492 and the impact of the criminalization of substance use disorder and profiling and a number of other things,
Yeah.
I would say keep it.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Anyone opposed?
No.
All right. Next one is 1839.
My question is, does this one meet the criteria? I mean, I think it's really important. That's my only question.
I don't think it does, but
Yeah.
Discard, or do you want to put it on the list?
I'd say discard.
Yeah.
Discard.
Discard.
Sarah? Discard?
Discard.
Okay. We now go down to 1941.
This is an interesting one because let's keep people out of jail. But if they're there, let's make sure that we have quality corrections officers. That was my dilemma with this one. But it's possibly not the highest priority.
Well, I think Representative Pluker was also thinking, I mean, it is geared towards retention, just because of the acute staffing issues that we've been going through in correctional facilities, but also as a recruitment, possibly a recruitment tool. I know that I don't know about the demographics of this workforce, but I don't think it's that diverse. I don't see it having a direct correlation, but.
Well, I was thinking more about the population in correctional facilities, but I don't really know the statistics.
Yeah, well, there's definitely disproportionate number of Black and brown people in those facilities, but whether or not this presumes that because you're going to pay folks more money, you're going to get a higher quality without, I don't know if there's any way to measure that. And I mean, if they change the criteria for hiring, if they're going to, so I don't see the impact, but
I'm okay letting it go.
Yeah.
This bill fits more into looking in the future to making sure that our police forces really mirror the communities they serve,
Yeah.
and that correctional officers do as well. But that's not what this bill is.
Definitely not.
Good point.
Vice Chief, are you okay with getting rid of this bill? You had wanted a little bit more information on it.
My preference would be to keep it, but I want to be in line with the majority, and I'm in favor of what we decide collectively.
Anyone else join the Vice Chief? Okay, I think we're gonna discard it then, Vice Chief. You can always, I can put you in touch with the sponsor, Representative Bill Pluker, and if you want us to reconsider it, we can absolutely do that. You can bring this back for reconsideration if you'd like. I'll make a note to make sure that you can talk to Representative Pluker about it. The next one is 1955, and I realize it's 6:14, so we're almost there.
Which number, Rachel?
LD 1955,
Thank you.
and it's ranked pretty high.
This is another bill in line with the last dental bill. I say we keep it.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
And this happens to be another one of Representative Gattin's bill. I would vote to keep, and it sounds like everyone has at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, 1965.
This is one of those bills that would increase wages for a certain sector of school support. And I think it specifically was not in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. But I don't know that it specifically addresses racial inequity.
Well, my understanding about the demographics of the workforce is this is the area that you're going to find diversity.
Yeah.
You know, the janitor, the cleaning, and the more the non-teaching staff. But
The other
that's
angle,
total.
the other angle of this might be, I'm not sure what they're referring to by school support staff. Are they just referring to people like custodians or is this for like ed techs as well?
No, school support staff is not ed techs. It's secretarial, facilities maintenance, custodial, and kitchen workers. And in some unions, bus drivers are in that, but I think they have their own sort of quote unquote they have their own quotes.
Gotcha. Thank
bus-
you.
I think we keep this one.
Yeah, I do too. I definitely do. It actually, it would change the, not just the base pay, but then the step pay for all those folks as well.
Yeah, it brings
Let's
it to
keep it.
16. Yeah, I say we keep it.
Keep it.
Great.
Okay, great. The next one isn't until 2086. And so if you can keep an eye out, because I don't know, it's coming up.
Criminal Records Review
There-
Committee.
I think that was a no-brainer.
Keep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is 2109.
Long-term care workforce.
I think. I don't know.
What number was that again? 2109, sorry. I think
2109.
about that one. Is that just phase bill?
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
I know it's a good bill. I just don't know if it has any specific.
yeah, right.
So this is kind of like the school support workers in some ways. So it's direct care workers and long-term care workers. And I think one of the challenges that COVID has laid bare is that a lot of the staffing in long-term care facilities and senior living facilities and whatnot are people of color. And that's a contributing factor to the disproportionate in rates of COVID-19 among communities of color. So in some ways, I do think that implementing the recommendations of this task force in terms of increases in rates, increases in quality and safety standards, earned paid leave, this is a workforce that I do think it actually might help to dismantle some systemic disparities. I know just from personal observation, but I think it's borne out by the data that a lot of the immigrants coming to Maine end up as personal care workers, like a first point of entry into the workforce. So I guess I would advocate pretty strongly for this one if we're keeping the minimum wage for school support staff, which is also really important.
I agree.
That
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
compelling argument. Let's keep it.
Yeah, it's a committee bill.
Yeah.
I've got it down 2109. And then our last one is 2118. That's
Yeah, I think that's one, a keeper.
Yeah.
pretty
for sure.
pretty obvious one, I hope.
Yes, let's keep that one.
So that, oh no, my apologies. 2145. Our veterans bill.
Yeah.
We were gonna ask for more, try to get some demographics here.
hmm
You guys want to still keep it and try to see if we can get any more data?
We kept the other one for the veterans, for transportation for veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say that probably falls in the same line as this one.
Agree.
I was ready to let it go until you talked about the Native American demographic.
hmm
Vice Chief, do you want to keep this one? It's also Senator Carpenter's bill. I can, for the committee, I can reach out to Senator Carpenter and try to get some more information, specifically demographics,
Yeah, thank
similar
you.
to the other bill.
Thank you for the more information, but I would be in favor of keeping the bill.
Okay.
I'm also in favor of keeping the bill, even if Maine's demographics don't match the national demographic. I just
Okay.
feel that they could, and I mean, there's potential in the future.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to happen right this minute. Something for the future is true.
This is our last slide and our last bill.
I don't know a lot about this bill. What is the purpose of this review panel?
I don't know either.
It's a governor's bill. So there's probably not a ton in it yet.
It's a panel to review
2145 is?
accidental drug overdoses. The only reason I thought it might be useful or important is I'm just curious. I had a big question mark next to it and I can't remember. I can't find what I actually put in for the final score. But I just don't know if there's any demographic data around accidental drug overdoses in Maine
Yeah.
in communities of color. Do we have that demographic data?
Maybe that's what the purpose of the panel.
Well, no, it says the bill establishes the review panel to review a select number of deaths caused by accidental drug overdoses and to recommend to state, county, local agencies methods of preventing deaths.
So maybe this is one of those bills like revenue sharing where to make it stronger, to disrupt systemic discrimination, we purposefully instruct that panel to consider racial disparities in accidental drug overdoses and to ensure that a percentage of all the deaths that they review are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, because, you know, you could easily see a panel like that just looking at, you know, white deaths. And then it would.
Well, yeah, the other concern is the makeup of this panel. If you look at it, there's it's generous language in some regards, one or more representatives of families affected by drug overdose deaths appointed by the governor. But it's mostly, you know, there's not a lot of impacted folks on this panel. It does give the Attorney General and the governor ability to appoint additional members, but in its current configuration, it is, there's not a lot of folks with lived experience, family members, and like on the panel itself.
So and it hasn't been heard yet. It hasn't even been to committee yet. So it might be, that might be something where add some notes to it that you know, they can have that discussion, or maybe one of us can provide testimony when it does get heard.
I think that's a great idea. One thing that Representative Fecto is in the labor bill, regardless of where it ends up in this process, is he's going to add some language to it to ensure that appointments to the particular commission that we're looking at with regards to housing and zoning are from communities of color and representative of Maine's demographics. We might think about language that gets added to all of these study commissions, because one of the challenges, sorry, I'm going to get on a soapbox for a minute. I apologize. But just, you know, we have all these all-white commissions, right? And when it comes to the permanent commission, suddenly we can find Black, Indigenous, and people of color. But when it comes to, you know, other commissions, the nominees are overwhelmingly white, and that's a problem. It's not representative. So we could fix it through language in our bills.
So do we keep this on the list, or do you want to put it on the other list, you know, where we will generally speak to it, but it's missing a fairly large component of participation and focus on color.
I voted high on this bill, as well as all the other opiate-related bills that we discussed and entertained. We had an overdose death here in our community just a few weeks ago in June, and we have several every year. And in a community of just a few hundred people, it's a pretty impactful situation of the opiate problem that we experience here. So, no, go right ahead.
No, so we would keep this and make suggestions about the direct connections, the more explicit language, expand the panel.
I think it has potential direct impact without elaborate conversation, but I do appreciate, you know, introducing wording that would apply to folks of disadvantaged folks.
Okay, so
I-
we'll, go
I
ahead, please.
I'm thinking about the opioid task force, and we had one of the members by authority of the establishment of the task force was a person of lived experience. Now, it didn't talk about, other than having been somebody who was in long-term recovery, it didn't talk about other demographics. But I think, I don't know how whether you want to get more specific, but somebody with lived experience is critical. At least one. More would be better.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have concluded our review, and from 65 bills, including the last bill, 2153, we have kept 18. Which
Awesome.
is really, yeah, that's good. And we have 5 of them that are on a list in which we need to give some voice to, that are the bond bills, pretty much the bond bills. But so 5 that we really want to talk a little bit more about in terms of their direct impact. And then we have 2 bills that we've asked for more information on. One is a veterans bill, and the other is Representative Stover's bill, 1178, around autism. So 18 out of 65, and then a handful, 5, 6, 7, 8 other bills with some questions. That's pretty good. That's a great, yeah, that's great work, everyone. Really
Good
great
job,
work.
team.
Yeah, so what we'll do now is produce the results of this. We'll get this back to you and take a look at it again. Any one of us can recall a bill for further consideration. You are going to get an email. You might have it tonight even. So you'll get the results of this. But then tonight you're going to get an email about reconsideration, and you will see all 400 plus bills, every committee that's ranked, that's just done what we've gone through. You'll see the ranking of all the bills from all the subcommittees, all the keeps, and then all the discarded. You will also see the committee assignment for that bill, and anyone in this full committee, permanent commission members and legislators, anyone at all, can ask for a bill to be reconsidered by contacting the co-chair of that corresponding committee and providing additional information for why it should be reconsidered. So the whole full committee anyone can ask for a bill to be reconsidered. What that means in terms of our time, because after that reconsider phase, we're going into an assessment phase. And what we will do as a subcommittee is actually take these 18 or so bills and start to ask ourselves the question of how does this bill accomplish what we're looking at? And we will go through another quantitative ranking, and then we will decide. We'll have another discussion as the subcommittee, and then we will make a final determination of the bills that we want to move forward to recommend to the full committee. That then we will have a full committee meeting. I believe it's on the 22nd, where we will be able to present our final list of bills for consideration. And then after that period of time, the permanent commission kind of takes the mantle and moves forward. The permanent commission will take the final list from all the subcommittees and vet it with constituent groups and other stakeholders, and be able to then vote on a final list by consensus that would go forward to the legislature. That final report is due on August 5th. The vote for that by the permanent commission is on August 3rd. So we will schedule a couple of more meetings. And I'm sorry for the pace of this. But we'll schedule a couple of other meetings so that we can continue to discuss as a group what we believe should move forward. But we've got a great group of bills. I love our bills. We got a great group of bills to go on to the next stage.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So there are a couple of bills that we assessed, and I'm assuming that the other groups will do the same thing, that have not been heard by committee yet, that will be before, assumingly, sometime before the second weekend in August. But some of them are meeting like right now. Is there any way to have someone keep an eye on those that we want to, that maybe would be missed by the permanent commission because it's already been heard in committee, and maybe we can make some recommendations just like the one that we were just talking about? Is there somebody that can keep an eye on those for us?
We can do that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What I would ask you to do, Mo, if you don't mind, is just putting that question in an email to all of our subcommittees so we can track our questions. So
Yeah.
we make sure that whatever questions asked, we can track the answer and make that specific request for staff.
Sure. Excellent. I can do that.
Yeah.
And some of the bills are on the appropriations table. So they're through committee, but in limbo there.
Yeah. But for, I would just encourage you'll get our rankings back tonight, but I would just encourage, if you have any information about any of these bills that you really think an amendment, or a direction that a legislator wants to go, or you talked with a legislator and they're willing to do whatever, something on their bills. I mean, we're trying to make an impact in the 129th. That's our goal. And so we want this to be transparent, but fluid and accessible. We want good policy. So to the extent that we can help make that possible, that's what we want to do. We want to lift up bills that will do that and help make them better bills. So does anyone else have anything to share before we end?
I just want to say thank you for grabbing this moment in time. I'm a little teary.
Oh. Agreed.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say to each of you the same, and I get teary thinking about it. The ability to work with the vice chief is just incredible, and the ability to work with each of you in a very different way than what we have. But at the same time, we're all just trying our best to address this moment and the history of all of what comes before us. Yeah. So I liken it to this is the journey that we've been chosen for. And I'm grateful to be able to do it with each one of you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jay.
You folks do wonderful work. I experienced that this evening to sit here among you. It's a wonderful process to take part in. I'm really grateful that I could take part and contribute in a small way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone have a great night and good work. And we'll be back in touch by email. Any questions at all, get in touch. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Rachel.
Thank you.
Rachel. Thank you, Vice Chief Newell.